What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are going to continue our coverage over X-Men comics as we work our way up to Days of Future Present, the next crossover that we are going to talk about. But now we have to jump back over to Excalibur and continue our coverage over the Cross-Time Caper story arc that we are currently covering. It's a 12-part story arc. Now, we already covered the first two chapters of this story, and when it came to our heroes, they have now begun an adventure where they are going to travel across the multiverse, be able to see different Earths in different realities. Now, when it came to our heroes in the last two chapters, they had arrived on an Earth where, well, Kitty Pryde almost got married to a prince who had fell in love with her. And you had a different version of Oppo Luna Saturnine go out of her way to change Kitty Pryde into a princess to hopefully pull off the wedding. But luckily, none of that happened because in that reality, there was another Kitty Pryde who was able to marry the prince. And so now everything is great for our heroes, but now they have to find a way to move on to the next reality to continue their journey of getting back home. Now, the opening pages of this book does remind us a few things going on when it comes to Excalibur. You see, when it comes to X-Men comics, really Marvel comics, you have a lot of drama, but especially in X-Men comics. And so when it comes to Excalibur, we have to remember that Captain Britain is with Megan, but over the last couple issues, we have seen Megan begin to move away from Captain Britain into the arms of Nightcrawler. Now, when it comes to Captain Britain, he has also noticed that Nightcrawler is moving in on his relationship. Now, something I do want to mention is that Captain Britain was originally going to leave Megan, but then changed his mind. But now he is upset that she might leave him. Now we also got to focus on Kitty Pryde, because Kitty Pryde is in love with a character known as Alistair Stewart. Now, when it comes to Alistair, he belongs to an organization known as WHO? Weird Happening Organization. They basically travel around the world to investigate weird things happening across the world. Now, he also came with Excalibur as they begun this adventure across the multiverse. But Kitty Pryde wants to get with him, but unfortunately, his eyes are not on her. His eyes, well, they're on Rachel Summers, and it seems Rachel might also be intrigued in getting with Alistair as well. And Kitty Pryde, every single time she sees the two of them talking, she knows that in her head, she does not stand a chance at all. And so she leaves the party early to go back to the train. But that is when we are reminded about the character Widget. Now, when it comes to Widget, it is the reason why our heroes are able to travel across the multiverse. You see, we still don't know much about this robot, but it is the main reason why our heroes are on this journey, because it opens up portals to other realities, which of course led our heroes into this reality. Now, when it comes to Kitty Pryde, her and Alistair have been trying their best to study Widget, to figure out how it does work, so that they'll find a way back home to the main Marvel universe. Except when she gets back on the train, she sees that Widget is awake, but he's now eating everything in his sight. Now, once she is able to calm down Widget, well, you then have her realize that Rachel Summers is very upset. And we kind of find out why. You see, Rachel had ran into this reality of Nigel Frobisher, and I really hope I pronounce his last name correctly. Now, when it comes to Nigel, in the main Marvel universe, he believes that he is a ladies' man. He's not. But in this reality, it's exactly the same thing. This man believes that he is a ladies' man. And so she read his mind and realized what he wanted to do with her was very, well, disgusting. Either way, once she does get on the train, you then have Rachel Summers' powers activate. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics, She was the Phoenix. And so when she gets on the train and her Phoenix powers do activate after messing with Nigel, well, then her powers somehow also activate Widget, which then opens up another portal, which then takes our heroes into, well, another reality. Now, when it comes to our heroes, they do arrive in another reality. Now, they believe they're finally back home to the main Marvel universe, not knowing that they had arrived in another reality, but they're going to learn more about this new reality later on. When they do arrive in this other reality, they see the lighthouse, their base, and they believe they're back home. But then they find different kinds of clues that kind of hints at the idea that possibly they're not back at home. But then out of nowhere, our heroes see a tidal wave about to hit them in a few seconds. And so you have Rachel use her Phoenix ability as a way to trap each member of Excalibur inside some kind of cocoon as a way to protect them, because she knew there is no way they would be able to move fast enough to actually dodge it. And she made sure to trap herself also in a cocoon as a way to protect her, like she did for the rest of the team. Now, once you do have our heroes wake up after the whole tidal wave, and once they do break out of their cocoons, they realize that Rachel is nowhere to be found. Now, here's the thing, Rachel was nearby them, but it seems like the wave had most likely taken her somewhere else, or somebody else had taken her somewhere else on this earth. But either way, our heroes are then confronted by Rick Jones. Now, when it comes to Rick, around this point in Marvel Comics, he was everybody's best friend. I mean, he was friends with the Hulk, Iron Man, Steve Rogers, the list goes on. But when it comes to Rick Jones, he does confront Excalibur, and he does tell Excalibur two very important things. First, Rachel Summers was taken away by the Avengers, because when they found her, all they found was a cocoon. It had no idea who or what was inside of it. But then on top of that, you have Rick say that he is somewhat surprised to see Excalibur, because in this reality's Excalibur team had disappeared, just like our heroes did in their own reality. But either way, he tells our heroes, if you want to find your missing friend, well, you have to go over to New York and head over to the main base of the Avengers, and maybe you might find some clues there. Now, while you have our heroes travel across the world, heading back over to New York, well, they run into Hank Pym. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics, Hank has gone through a lot of different names, like Ant-Man, Giant Man, Goliath, Yellow Jacket. But either way, we see that he has taken Pym particles in this reality, but the Pym particles allowed him to grow to a ridiculous size. But the problem is, every single time he takes a breath or he moves a certain body part, well, he causes severe damage across the world, and that is a huge problem. And matter of fact, we get a small example of that, because as soon as he does move a body part, apparently he caused severe damage to Atlantis that had ticked off Namor, who goes out of his way to attack Giant Man. And well, when he does, you have Hank Pym just fall down into the ocean, but still alive. Now, once you have our heroes arrive in New York, you then have our heroes see that there is a complete war happening across the entire city. I am talking about the idea of all different Earth heroes fighting against all different kinds of Earth villains in the middle of New York. And matter of fact, you have our heroes run into this reality versions of different characters, like Steve Rogers. And this reality, he is a Deathlock. But that is just one example of the idea that this reality is really bonkers. All the different heroes or villains in this reality are going to be completely different, but in a very weird kind of way. Now, when it comes to our heroes, they say, you know what, let's split up, and hopefully we can find Rachel to get the heck out of here. But the problem is they're going to run into more weird versions of different heroes in Marvel Comics. But you have Kitty Pryde and also Alistair head over to the home of the Fantastic Four. Now, once they do arrive, they see a line going out the door because everyone wants a chance to actually meet Reed Richards and see if he is able to help with their problem. And so they have to get a ticket and wait for their number to be called. Now, when it comes to Rick and also Captain Britain, they head over to Avengers Mansion. Now, once they do arrive, you have Iron Man tell them, hey, the cocoon that you're looking for is not here at all. Matter of fact, it was moved over to the home of the Fantastic Four because Reed is the best person to examine it. Now, you do have Captain Britain run into this reality of Hulk, except this Hulk is a huge crybaby. Yes, you heard that right. This Hulk is a huge crybaby because as soon as you have Captain Britain throw one punch at the Hulk, he begins to cry. And it's kind of like, what in the world is going on here? Now, when it comes to Megan and Nightcrawler, they do head over to Damage Coordination Headquarters, this reality's version of Damage Control. Now, once our heroes do arrive at this location, well, they realize that there are many different kinds of characters they usually see in the main Marvel universe, but in this reality, they are acting very strange, very different than their main Marvel Universe counterpart. Matter of fact, they run into Mysterio, who goes out of his way to say, hey, you guys need a better outfit because y'all clothes are horrible. And he gives them some brand new clothes. But he doesn't stop there. Well, he does. But he does introduce different characters who are in the building, who are also acting very strange and different, to the point where it freaks out Nightcrawler and also Megan that they have to leave, and they are able to head over to the home of the Fantastic Four, where they are able to regroup with the rest of Excalibur. Now, once you have our heroes being able to regroup, they go inside the base of the Fantastic Four of this reality, except that is the moment we see Reed trying to examine the cocoon that Rachel is currently in. Now, while examining her, that is the moment she breaks right out. Now, here's the thing. In this reality, there was no Rachel Summers at all. And matter of fact, as we go through the story arc, we're going to see that in different realities across the multiverse, there was no other versions of Rachel Summers in those realities. We actually saw that in our last video when it came to our heroes arriving at that last reality that they were at. And so when it comes to Reed, he has no idea who this chick is at all. But either way, you didn't have the world be attacked by Galactus. Now, when it comes to Rachel Summers, she does remind us that Galactus did tell the heroes of Earth that he will no longer try, for the time being, to absorb or devour the Earth. And so when it comes to Rachel, she is very confused about the idea of Galactus being here trying to devour this Earth. But you have Galactus say, you are not part of this reality. You and your friends need to leave now because this Earth should not be here at all. This Earth is actually doing damage to the multiverse because it's just completely wrong. Everything this Earth should be is going in a completely different direction, and it has to go now before it actually does damage to this reality. And so you have our heroes once again be able to leave this reality by traveling by Widget, because once you have Rachel use her Phoenix abilities near Widget, he is able to open up another portal to take our heroes away. But here's the thing, we kind of find out why this reality or this version of Earth had fell apart, because of the Impossible Man. He was playing around with this reality to the point where he could have severely damaged the multiverse, and that is why Galactus had to step in. But now we have to jump over into the next chapter where we pick up back in the main Marvel universe, and we pick up with TechNet. Now, when it comes to TechNet, they are a group of characters who are bounty hunters working for the original COPPA Luna Saturni, and their main mission was to go out of their way to capture the Phoenix, but of course they had failed. And so now they're just waiting for the Phoenix to come back into this reality so they can try again. But they were confronted in our last video by a character known as Nigel. Now, we have talked about Nigel before. He was a guy who was very jealous of Courtney Ross, the ex-girlfriend of Captain Britain, because she was able to get a higher position than he did in a certain bank. Now, here's the thing. No one knows that Courtney Ross has been killed off and replaced by another version of Saturnyne who has some master scheme up her sleeve. But either way, when it came to Nigel, he lost a bet to that Saturnyne, and she told him that you now have to do everything I tell you to do. And so his first mission was to deliver a contract over to TechNet. Now, when it comes to TechNet, their new contract is to go out of their way to head over to Africa and save the older brother of Captain Britain, better known as James Braddock. Now, when it comes to James, the reason why he's in Africa because he is paying for his crimes. You see, there was a point in time where James was actually helping out Brian Braddock with different kinds of things, but unfortunately, James fell down a dark path where he was involved in a lot of different crimes in Africa. And so a character known as Dr. Crocodile went out of his way to capture James, to torture James as a way to pay for his crimes. And when it comes to Captain Britain, he felt like it was the right thing to do and just left. But now TechNet's new contract is to go out of their way to save James and to bring him back home. Now, when it comes to our heroes, they had arrived in another reality, except this reality is completely different from the main Marvel universe. Let me explain. So as we all know, when it came to the history of America, you had different people from the different countries in Europe cross over the seas to colonize America. But in this reality, the roles were switched around, where you had the people of America cross the seas to colonize the different areas in Europe. And so when we pick up with our heroes, they are technically cowboys and cowgirls trying their best to defend themselves against the natives in this area. Now, this section does not really last that long because you do have Widget and also the Phoenix being able to open up another portal to take our heroes into another reality. But now we have to jump back over to TechNet. Now, when it comes to TechNet, they're going out of their way to hopefully save James Braddock. And they do arrive at the base of Dr. Crocodile. Now, when it comes to TechNet and their different kinds of abilities, they are really powerful characters that cannot be stopped easily by a regular human. And so they are able to just walk through the entire facility that's being controlled by Dr. Crocodile. Now, once you have Gatecrasher being able to reach the main room where James being tortured at, you think that, okay, she's here and she should be able to take down Dr. Crocodile very easily, but she can't. And the reason why? Because he hits her with some kind of gas, which begins a process of her kind of going through some mind games. Now, when it comes to our heroes, they're still traveling across the multiverse. Matter of fact, they're now getting the chance to see how crazy different realities could be when it comes to traveling across the multiverse. Matter of fact, they arrive in one universe where you do have a Frankenstein, you do have a female Dracula, and Captain Britain is a duck. But it really shows that when it comes to the multiverse, you're gonna have realities out there that are going to be flat out weird, just flat out strange for unknown reasons. Now, getting back over to Gatecrasher, we do learn what Dr. Crocodile was trying to show when it comes to his gas. You see, you do have Gatecrasher begin to hallucinate, and she begin to see all the different crimes that James did over the years in Marvel Comics up to this point to show that he truly is a bad person. Now, when it comes to Gatecrasher, she's able to break free from the mind games that Dr. Crocodile was trying to play. But you do have her tell him, you know, you could have just told me about his crimes. But you have Doc Croc say, but would you believe me if I had told you? I had to show you hard proof of what I do know about this man. Now, when it comes to our heroes, they actually do arrive back in the main Marvel universe. It does seem like, okay, their travel across the multiverse has finally reached an end. And matter of fact, when they do arrive, they do ask two police officers to get a confirmation that they are back home in their reality. Except before they're able to finally relax or just go back home, well, that is when you have Widget once again activate by absorbing the abilities of Phoenix. And once again, another portal opens up, taking our heroes into another reality. And the question is now, where are they going next? But now we jump over to the big moment for James Braddock. Now, when it comes to James, he was being tortured for a very long time by Dr. Croc. But here's the thing, when it comes to Dr. Crocodile, he made sure that kind of torture was going to play mind games on the mind of James, to the point where he had officially snapped. And so when it comes to James, this is the moment where he comes into his abilities. The idea that he's able to play with reality, because you didn't have James, who is currently insane, believe that everything around him is just a dream. But in reality, it's the real thing. And what he is seeing right now is the strings of reality, where he is able to pull them and do all kinds of different things. And so when it comes to TechNet, they do try their best to take out James. But unfortunately, no matter what they do, he is just able to take each and every single one of them out like it was no big deal and just move on with his day. Now, getting back over to our heroes, they do arrive in another reality, except this one is a nuclear wasteland. The entire world was hit with nukes left and right. Now, the Captain Britain in this world is actually Megan. Now, originally there was a Brian Braddock, but he had died. And so Megan in this reality had taken up the mantle to continue on to be the Captain Britain of this reality. But either way, we kind of find out that thanks to Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four and the Avengers were killed off, and the rest of the world was also hit with nukes. Now, when it comes to James, we do see him just walking around until he's confronted by Nigel. Now, when it comes to Nigel, this is him saying, hey, James, come with me. I got a big offer I know that you will not refuse. And you actually have James go with Nigel. Now, when it comes to TechNet, we're left to wonder what had possibly happened to them at the end of the last section. Well, we do see them alive still, but it seems like they believe that they were able to pull off their last mission, but not knowing that, hey, they actually failed. It seems like James had played with their minds, had worked reality around them to believe they did a good job. But when we jump back over to our heroes, we do see that they did arrive in another reality, except we have no idea which one by this point. But the last page does show us Captain Britain and Megan both defeated, and we're left to wonder what exactly happened to them. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.